Hello, everyone. Welcome to the last session of the day on next steps for autonomous shuttles and also the option of doing a public procurement of innovation, or PPI. I will now first introduce the panel to you. First of all, I'm really pleased that we have with us today Lieve Bos from the European Commission, Policy Officer for Innovation Procurement from DG Connect. So really the PCP and PPI guru, I would say, at the European Commission. So really excellent, Lieve, that you're with us. You have a few slides later. I'll first introduce the others. We have also with us two people you also haven't seen yet today, for the ones who have been with us the rest of the day. Two fabulous so-called preferred partners, which are kind of fellow procurers that have closely followed Fabulous from the start and are now currently considering follow-up steps, maybe joint follow-up steps. So welcome to Nathalie Rodriguez from the Hamburg Public Transport Association, project leader of HEAT, which is a 4-year project until the end of this year, I think, in which multiple mixed traffic operation trials took place and will take place. So happy to have you as well, Nathalie. And then we have Odysseas Raptis, who is the CEO of Trikala from Greece, from Trikala in Greece. Trikala actually hosted one of the very, very first shuttle pilots in Europe 5 years ago, I think, more or less. Correct me if I'm wrong, as part of the Citymobile 2 project. And currently they're working on a procurement of shuttle buses for Trikala. So it will be interesting to hear a bit more from that later. And then, last but not least, you have seen him before, maybe earlier in the day, one of the ambitious procuring partners of Fabulous, currently already working on Fabulous Phase X, so the next step after the project, Marcel Unterberg from the city of Helmond in the Netherlands. So this is our panel for the next 45-50 minutes. This session will be now kicked off by Lieve Bos from the side of the EC, who has a couple of slides. So I hope that our tech team can put Lieve's slides to the front, and then I give the floor to Lieve for the next few minutes, and then we come back to the panel. So Lieve, go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm very happy to be here. Fabulous was one of the very ambitious pre-commercial procurement projects, and it looks like it has done a great job in the past 3 years. For sure, all this development and testing of autonomous vehicles has helped the procurers, the cities, not only within Fabulous, but also the wider group of cities that are following the Fabulous efforts to better understand what is now really the potential of autonomous vehicles in a city context. But I'm sure it also helped the companies that were involved in creating better solutions, moving their companies ahead in the battle to become the leaders of tomorrow in this robotics world. I'm not seeing the slides yet, but I hope that you are.
Lieve?
We confirm this quickly.
Yes, Lieve.
Yes,
we
perfect.
can see them.
Okay, then just to give you a quick overview, why are we in the Commission putting this emphasis on innovation procurement? Because we need to do better. All of us around Europe, there are some countries who are doing already pretty well and others who are lagging more behind. But if we compare globally our position of Europe compared to other parts in the world, we are doing far less innovation procurement than what's happening out there. And a good average for doing innovation procurement is to think to allocate around 20% of your procurement budget to innovation. So that means, of course, not only to the development of new solutions, that is typically a small part, around 3%, in South Korea, even more, up to 5% of the procurement budget. But the biggest part is actually for deployment of innovative solutions, for adoption. So the part of the story that Fabulous is now also looking at. That should be, for a healthy economy, around 17% of public procurement budget. And we are not there yet in Europe. If we have a look, for example, at the next slide, here you see the results of a recent benchmarking study, European-wide benchmarking that we did, that was looking at how much adoption of innovative solutions is now happening in the public sector in Europe. So we are not looking at the pre-commercial procurements now, but the deployment procurements that want to adopt innovative solutions. So the procurements of innovative solutions, or the PPIs. And what does the study find? That in Europe, across the whole 30 countries, because we also looked at Norway, Switzerland and UK, around 9.3% of public procurement is spent on adoption of innovative solutions. And that should be around 17% to be at full speed in terms of public sector modernization. As you can see, some countries are already doing better and others are lagging more behind, but overall everybody in Europe has still a lot of effort to do. And that's important because procuring innovative solutions is not just modernizing the public sector, making it more efficient, offering higher quality services to citizens and so on, but it's also a very strong driver to help companies around Europe improve their position in all these important technology areas globally. So still a lot of work to do. If we then look more specifically at how big is this in terms of billions of euros that are spent on procurement of innovative solutions in Europe, it's still quite a sizable amount. Even though we're not spending enough compared to other parts of the world, it's still 255 billions of euros per year that are spent on buying, purchasing innovative solutions. That's across all the sectors of public sector activity. So going from healthcare, public transport, energy, environment, security, public administration, e-government applications, defense, water, also the utility companies, everybody who is spending, in fact, public procurement budget is included there. But yeah, if you look at the total pot of money that all these entities spend, about 2.7 trillion, it's still a portion that is too small to really mainstream innovation in the public sector. Okay, then we looked at ICT. Where are we with the adoption of ICT-based innovative solutions? And we find that this portion is around 38%, almost 40% of the total amount of innovative solutions that are being adopted. So ICT is a really big driver for innovation, nothing new, we always knew that, but also in the public sector. 38%. Great. We look at the next slide. So if we now zoom in a bit more on this portion of ICT-based innovations that are being adopted in the different countries, you see a similar graph with some countries really ahead, like Finland, Ireland, Sweden, and so on, and some really lagging behind, far lagging behind compared to the others in capitalizing on the transformative power of ICTs to boost the economy. Why am I saying that? Because there is a direct link between how much you invest in ICTs and the economic growth of a country or a region. You see that clearly that the countries that are leading here in the adoption of ICTs are also those countries who are creating the biggest economic growth out of ICT in general. When we analyze every year in the European Commission, in the economic semester exercise, all the structural reforms and how this has created economic growth, GDP growth in the countries, we see a similar pattern here with the adoption of ICT and the economic growth in the different countries, the part that is generated by ICT. And the other big conclusion that you can see from the slide is that although some countries are doing very well, the average around Europe is not as good as it was for procurement of innovations in general. because the average is around 3.5% of procurement that goes to the adoption of innovative ICTs, where it should be around 10%, so 3 times as much, to really modernize the public sector full speed ahead with ICTs. So we need to do a bigger increase, a 3 times increase in the adoption of ICTs than we need to do in the adoption of innovations in general. Here is the distribution of how much different countries, procurers in different countries are spending on buying research and development, like the FABULOS project did. And there the gap is even bigger. There is a gap of 5 times underinvestment. So we see clearly that all countries are there not doing enough effort. Still, ICT is the driving factor there. It's still around 40% of all these investments, but far not enough. And this has big consequences on our strategic autonomy. If we're not investing enough to become leaders in certain areas, to have the first mover advantage for new innovations for the public sector, then this also means that we will be lagging behind later in adoption and in the competitiveness of the companies in those areas. So we really have to do much more projects like FABULOS, and also moving them from the R&D phase up to wide-scale deployment. Here you see a summary of all the underinvestment factors in the different areas that the study analyzed. Still, we thought when we started the study that the situation would be even worse. So we're not so totally disappointed, but the lesson is we need to do much more effort, especially now in the economic crisis. It's an opportunity to come out of the crisis stronger than before if we boost our efforts now. So what do we recommend as European Commission to all the countries today? Is to build concrete action plans and comprehensive policy frameworks for innovation that go all the way from the research and development stage up to wide-scale deployment. Some countries already have a very elaborate action plan, like, for example, Finland in the FABULOS project, but others have not even started yet. So if we all want to move ahead, we should look at the leaders and follow the example and build up capacity also. Competence centers are also important to spread the word and train procurers. And a very important element that actually results from partially also from all this experimentation that happened with the pre-commercial procurements in Europe is that the European Commission realized that this can bring a major boost to economic recovery when procurers leave the ownership of intellectual property rights with the suppliers in their procurements, like is being done in the pre-commercial procurements, but then to do this in all public procurements. So the new IPR action plan that the Commission adopted end of last year is recommending member states to do this in all public procurements as much as possible to boost economic growth and to have more innovation-friendly procurement market. So not only in pre-commercial procurements, but also in deployment procurements. Then we are also, of course, recommending member states to boost investments in innovation procurement, mobilize their own resources, mobilize other resources at European level to speed up development and adoption of innovations in the public sector. Concretely, what kind of funding is now available at European level to do that? Well, there is over 600 million euro of funding today in the Recovery and Resilience Fund, a mega fund that has been created to help all member states recover from the economic crisis. Every country is making his own proposals about what they want to fund with this plan, but they all have billions, so they have lots of money that they could invest in innovation, in modernizing, for example. It's one of the key priorities in the plan, modernizing the public sector, one of the key flagships. And several member states have already proposed innovation procurement investments and reforms, but others have not done so yet or are still working on it. So for the FABULOS project, I would say there is an opportunity to talk to your ministries that are creating these plans to see if there is any link possible with the procurements that could be done for fabulous type deployments. Because in the Research, Recovery and Resilience Fund, there is an obligation that every member state has to spend 20% of this fund on digital investments. And robotics is clearly, the autonomous vehicles is clearly digital investment. So that would fit there perfectly. It's also one of the priorities to stimulate cross-border, multi-country projects in the RRF fund, and there are not enough multi-country projects yet at the moment proposed by member states. And as Fabulous is clearly a multi-country effort, I would say that's another plus point that you could use to talk to your ministries that are involved in the Recovery and Resilience Fund. The ambition is also of this fund to think big and to think ambitious to really come out stronger after the crisis. So look for big opportunities to scale up Fabulous, I would say, if you are planning to fund it in the context of this Recovery and Resilience Fund. Other opportunities at European level are all the programs that are under the traditional financing cycle, the multi-annual financial framework of the EU that is now being created for the next 7 years. And there are lots of programs under this. You see a few of them here. One of them that Fabulous will know well is the Horizon program, because the current Fabulous project is funded by the Horizon 2020 program, and the next program, Horizon Europe, is coming now. There is in this program, again, support for innovation procurements, and also to help better participate in innovation procurement. So there could be opportunities there. There is also a new program, the Digital Europe program, only focusing on deployment of digital solutions. There is also an arm there in the program, an objective there to modernize public sector, and there is also activities there, funding, testing, and experimentation. So there could be maybe also possibilities under there. For regions that are lagging behind compared to the rest of the average of, there are also big possibilities and also high funding rates for deployment projects in the European structural funds, the regional development programs, where each region can define its own priorities, for example, to deploy economic vehicles and receive co-funding from the EU for that. There is a new innovation fund, there is a new defense program, but I guess that will not be so interesting for Fabulous, but maybe under the green elements of the innovation fund, there could be also opportunities for Fabulous. So I would recommend you to look at all these programs once they are adopted, because they're not adopted yet. There was a huge delay in member states' approval for these new programs, but it should be coming in the next month or so, that you will see the adoption of these programs and all the funding opportunities. So I hope there will be something to really support Fabulous to grow and to mainstream deployment across Europe. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you, Lieve. Thank you very much. Super interesting and really nice to hear, I think, for all of us, I mean, us in the panel and the fabulous procuring partners, and maybe also the people who are listening to this conference, who are thinking about next steps, that there will be many different types of pots of funding available where we could go, that we could use for further deployment. I really liked it when you said that, you know, think big and be ambitious, because that's I think that's something that we've tried to be with Fabulous, and that we hope to kind of go beyond here as well, definitely. I also recognize when you said that knowledge centers could be one thing, because at least our experience as well from the PCP that we've had is that it's a relatively unknown tool. Maybe it starts to get more and more known, but also from all the graphics that you showed, that there's all the underperformance in a way for the innovation procurement. So maybe it's also these knowledge centers will help there. And I hope that by spreading the word about FABULOS and how pleased we have been with our PCP as a model and as an innovation tool, that hopefully that helps a little bit as well. But so really great introduction, I think. Let me see. Well, you already mentioned some of the funds coming up. Maybe we go to Nathalie first. I'm very curious to hear kind of your feedback on what Lieve said, Nathalie, with a view to kind of potential future procurements. But maybe first you want to say a little bit about what's happening in heat, and especially also then how it could go after heat ends and any kind of procurement you would be considering as the public transport operator. Nathalie, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So sure, we are at the moment, we're going to continue our trial operations for 3 months at the end of this year, from August until October. So we'll have trial operations with passengers on a 1.6 kilometer route, and it's going to be on open street, mixed traffic conditions, and in a very busy part of Hamburg. There's going to be a shuttle that we have been using and testing in this 4-year project, and vehicles coming back to Hamburg end of April, so we can start continuing some technical testing and some general adjusting of the different systems that we put together for this project. So to come back to your presentation, Lieve, I thought it was very exciting, especially the Recovery Resilience Facility Fund, because I must say many public transport operators in Europe are facing a very very difficult financial situation at the moment. We have a 3-digit financial loss this year and next year, and we are doing some forecasts that maybe the next 4 years we're going to have a 3-digit financial loss. So it's a double challenge for our colleagues and for people working on R&D and also deployment projects, to put new projects together and also at the same time to tackle the financial deficits that we have at the moment. So I'm going to definitely put a word to the colleagues to look further if we can maybe look deeper into this potential funding, because that will be an excellent means to continue doing interesting projects.
Maybe Lieve, could you mention that where can we find all these funding elements that you mentioned? I mean, you said that they are not out yet, but will be in around a month or so. So is there one portal that you can recommend also to everyone listening to us, like where to watch, or will they each have all their different own portals, or how do we find the money?
The Recovery and Resilience Fund, this one has already been adopted, I think earlier this week, very, very recently. And you find the link on the slide that mentions the RRF. If you click on the word RRF there, you go to the website where you find all the details about the program. But these are, generic details about what are the priorities of the program, what can be funded. You don't find the national plans there yet, because member states are still creating them. They are supposed to submit them to the Commission from now on, from the adoption of the program, until April, May. That's the timescale that they have. So it will be very fast. They've been already thinking about what they will do and creating first ideas, but now the real plan will have to come in the coming 2 months or so. So if you want to explore this possibility, you should contact your member states representatives quite fast. And for the MFF fund, the last slide, this one is not, for this, all the programs have not been adopted yet, but that will be in the coming month. But you have already the link also. If you click on the word MFF on the slide, you go to the website where all the information about the MFF is bundled and where it will appear once all the programs are really adopted also.
Good. Thank you. I'm sure there'll be many interested people here, and good to hear there are so many different options as well. Odysseas from Greece. So you have actually a procurement ongoing, right? Can you maybe tell a little bit about what you are procuring and with which phase are you, and are you considering maybe also a joint procurement for this type of innovation?
Thank you very much. Yes, we are. I mean that we are in the very, very end of our procurement, let's say, procedure regarding the national project which is happening, and we have finally concluded to buy 2 autonomous buses, 2 autonomous vehicles to run in our city, not only for the project that it lasts 2.5 years, but to keep those buses and keep them running in the city, offering service to the people, service to the citizens, service to the visitors to our city. So the procurement was not easy because we asked to buy the vehicles, to buy the buses, to buy the autonomous vehicles. So it was a little bit difficult for us with a limited budget to get offers that were out of any of our, let's say, calculation before we started the project. But finally, we have agreed and we're expecting for 2 buses to come in our city next month and to demonstrate not only for the pilot of the national project, we are running now a new European project, the SHOW project, we're participating on that also. And we keep, as the mayor and the municipal council have declared, we want to keep this line working for the future. And on what purpose? I mean, the purpose is clear. We will build a test line. The city will be a test bed. Why not to continue and why to stop it after the end of the project? And this is something that I have to ask officially, even today, from the European community. Not to stop the pilots. I mean, if we have, let's say, dedicated so many efforts, if we had to persuade the community, the local community and the society, and they have accepted, and they have accepted with pleasure, why don't you stop it? We believe that in those research and very, very innovative projects, it is important to build up a positive thinking test bed. In that aspect, please give us the opportunity to continue with it. I mean, let's say, to improve the technology, to accept the innovation, and to improve the technology on it. So, regarding procurement, we're waiting for our buses. Unfortunately, the pandemic of COVID just delayed a lot the arrival of the buses. We're crossing our fingers that next month the buses will be with us. And not only buses, we're expecting cars, autonomous vehicles, cars, normal cars, and we're open to welcome any kind of automation that somebody has to let's say, to try and test in our city. So we're waiting for, let's say, the arrival of the bus. But what I have to mention, the procurement that I have experienced in FABULOS, it was excellent. I have to congratulate the whole, let's say, consortium of FABULOS, because it was a totally different approach for innovation. First, the companies declare what they have, and then you have to decide what is the most suitable for you. That was excellent, and congratulations from our side.
Thank you. Thanks for those nice words. It's good to hear that you consider this. We've all been pleased with this pre-commercial procurement, and I'm sure that we will try to do something similar in the future, all of us. And good to hear that Trikala wants to really be this kind of test bed, and that you're thinking not only of pilots but of more permanent solution and kind of wider rollout. So definitely, it's good to know that if there will be maybe some wider innovation procurement as well, that to know that Trikala will be perhaps also interested in this. So yeah, I'd like to move maybe to Marcel, because talking about kind of scaling up and next steps after Fabulous, it is in particular Helmond who's been very ambitious and has quite kind of concrete plans already lined up. So maybe Marcel, can you say a little bit what you are working on at the moment as kind of next steps?
Yes, I certainly can. Thank you, Renske. Actually, it's a sort of a continuation of the Fabulous project. Maybe it's also good to mention that is also for us the reason we participated in the Fabulous project, to make really the next step, really make the next step to deployment of this kind of solutions. Especially for Helmond, it's very important. We are a medium-sized city in the south part of the Netherlands, the Brainport region, with about 100,000 inhabitants. And we are also a quite compact city. 2/3 of the total city lies literally within 1.5 kilometers of one of the 4 train stations we have. So you can imagine how big the impact can be when we reach that phase with the use of those automated shuttles. And what we also see is that it's for us important, but also our region has several initiatives or the same ideas to also invest in smart mobility, and especially also in connected automated driving. And that brings us maybe back to the Phase X, because we are working together now to see if we can combine our strengths, to combine our support together in Phase X. And that is actually a deployment of a shuttle service at the same route that we have now in the Fabulous field test. So that is from Brandenvoort Station to Brainport Smart District to the Automotive Campus, that route. That shuttle must be for the coming years in real deployment. That's what we want. At the same time, we also want to use that area as a living lab. Because we have learned a lot in the Fabulous project, but we have also seen some more steps are necessary. So we also want to use that area to learn. And not only on technical level, but also what we've talked about before on business cases or on operational aspects. So we already listed quite some number of learn questions. But together with other parts in our region, we want to add more. That Phase X project is also something we are not doing, of course, alone. We do that with our partners, such as our region, the Brainport region, the Smartways, other cities. But also we want to do that with knowledge institutes and educational institutes. And of course, the companies together learn by doing. That's exactly what we want to, what we are planning to do for the coming years. So at the same time, a real deployment, and for the coming years, trying to evolve, I would say. So that's in short what we are doing now in the Fabulous Phase X project.
Yeah. And I mean, your current, this Phase X and the deployment, you are considering to have one shuttle, right? Not an entire fleet yet? Or are you also really planning to scale up in quantity, so to say, or has it not been decided yet?
That has not been decided yet, but the idea is that it should not only be one shuttle, it could be more shuttles, also different kind of shuttles.
Yeah.
So finally, indeed, you should look at more like a fleet.
Yeah, and of course, that's exactly why, for example, this PPI, this kind of joint procurement of innovation, that's why sort of the public sector, so kind of us, can use the purchasing power to act as an early adopter of innovative solutions like the shuttle bus solutions that are not really yet on a large scale commercially available yet. So that's why, especially when cities start teaming up, and Helmond wants one or two or few vehicles, and maybe Hamburg wants some, and Trikala wants some, and we find some more, then we can actually really provide growth opportunities for companies as well. Of course, that's I guess also why the European Commission has these funding programs open. It's for us, the public sector. We can modernize the public services, better value for money solutions, and the companies can grow through this joint procurement. So I have actually a question for Lieve in this regard. It would, of course, make quite much sense now that once a PCP has ended, like our PCP will end soon, has the European Commission maybe considered having some level of PPI funding sort of permanently available for completed PCP, so that then there would be a very logical next step if you already know that there will be funding to scale up afterwards. Because now I think it's not the case, and you kind of have to wait and see if there's a suitable call or suitable funds. But I was wondering that has the European Commission considered this to have a kind of more permanent next step for PCPs, like a funding for PPIs? Lieve?
Well, I have been thinking about this, like others have done as well. The reality is that at the moment we have around 10-15 PCPs that are up and running. So we don't have at every moment in time somebody who would need to access. We don't have a need for a permanent fund because we don't have a large enough stream of projects yet buying R&D. So, and also the programs have been created, most of the programs have been created subdivided area per area. So separate program, for example, in Horizon Europe for ICT and for space and industry, another one for energy, another one for health. So we don't have one cross-cutting program that could cover PPIs for all those areas. So the best thing is still... Well, there are cross-cutting opportunities in some programs, like the structural funds, the regional development programs, the recovery and resilience funds, where member states can basically do their own programming. But in the programs where the Commission comes with calls for proposals, we are typically having a situation where the programs are divided per area that needs to be addressed, because member states like to be sure that each area has sufficient amount of funding, so they divide it budget-wise from the beginning, and then we're afterwards in a difficulty to create a cross-cutting kind of fund for PPIs. It's something that I still haven't given up, but at the moment I don't have enough PCPs, eager to create a permanently open PPI funding. So it's a bit looking for opportunities, like you say. I would definitely keep close contact with the robotics unit in the Commission, because they should be best aware about all possible opportunities for robotics, even if they are not directly through a call in one of our programs, but maybe a program that is funding other calls, and then maybe those can fund PPIs. So there are, for example, also parts of Horizon that fund member states that organize R&I programs, and if a member state wants to make there a proposal to fund the PPI program, or in group with several countries, they could propose it for an area like robotics. So there are multiple opportunities, but we have to look case by case at the moment still where your specific project would fit best.
And also, I think from the other side, we all of the cities and procurers that actually have an interest in this type of PPI, we should stay in contact, reach out to each other, and make sure that we have also then a group kind of ready as soon as we have identified suitable funding. I think that will be, it's kind of from both sides. Hey, Nathalie, from your side, after HEAT ends, if you would consider like a follow-up procurement or a wider deployment, what do you think would be the main sort of barriers, or what are the barriers to even decide on these steps? Does it have to do something with the lack of knowledge as well, or what would you foresee that the barriers are?
I think if we put aside the financial situation of specific companies like ourselves and what has COVID done in the last months and years since last March, I would say to really define what is the next step, what is the real next step technically, so we can really move forward to coming closer to real deployment on open street, open conditions, and tackling issues like weather condition and everything that we need for regular operations. So I think for us is the main question, do we continue developing and go further related to specific issues that we've detected in our project? That means more development, more technical development, or do we say we stop this level of development and we try to focus more on deployment and more kilometers driven, but not further developing? Because we know today we can do both, we will fail.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so that's a choice that you will make probably more towards the end of the year when you have your own pilot experience further. Yes, yeah, and Odysseus, from the side of Trikala, are you in contact also with other Greek cities about any kind of joint follow-up steps? You are on mute at the moment, but I think our technical team can help with that.
No, it's okay. Sorry.
There you are. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So we have been in very close relation with Lamia, that is the FABULOS partner, and we're trying together to build up the new law in Greece, in Parliament involved, for the autonomous vehicles. To improve the law, it is one. And of course, we're now participating in the big European project, as I mentioned before, the show, where other cities also participate, the whole industry is participating, and we keep very close relation with the two big national universities in Greece, that all together we're trying to do what? To let's say, go further offering the city. The autonomous driving is not my opinion, our opinion, is not just an issue of technology, it's a public acceptance also, which is a big, let's say, the big question mark, whether they will be on board or not, or whether we will assist them to their everyday life. So, yes, we are advanced and we would like to be in touch with other cities, let's say, exchange experience, and give the opportunity, the technology to go faster and faster, because technology has to run, as you mentioned, it is, let's say, today for the accidents or for the environment or for the last mile solutions and all these issues. Of course, we are and we will be in touch with other cities, and then we are welcome to reach Trikala and cooperate. We are very, very open on it.
Thank you, Odysseus, for your comments. You sound a little bit metallic, but maybe we go to back to Marcel still a little bit, because Marcel, you speak from the side of the city. We have also Natalie from the side of the public transport operator. How do you see this? Also in Helmond, I'm sure it will in the end most likely not be the city actually procuring this service. It might be the public transport operator. How is your cooperation with the public transport operator, and do you know if they might also have any plans for kind of rollout or procurement?
Yeah. Indeed, it's a very important partner, of course, for us. Also, formally, they have a contract to offer here the public transport. But more important, they are, of course, also the expert on mobility services. So we can make use of their knowledge. And that's also very important. It's also good to see that they are now very enthusiastic in the FABULOS project, and also learn a lot from this project. And as I said before, there are several ambitions here in the region. Also with large autonomous buses, but also with small autonomous buses. So also for Hermes, this is really really interesting. But yes, we have to work together with them and with much more organizations to make it a success.
Yeah, and I also think that it doesn't. Even if the next step would be not a wider deployment or a large scale rollout yet, but even if it would be still, one shuttle here, 2 shuttles there, 3 shuttles there, it doesn't matter if you pull all the cities. If you bring all the cities and public transport operators together with this need for kind of maybe not such big amounts yet, but then you can still really provide a really good sized procurement and very suitable, I think, for this type of PPI and also the type of funding instruments that Lieve mentioned. So I think that we will also, from the side of Fabulous, have some kind of an exploitation report in the next month or so, which will be part of the end of the project, and kind of where we also identify from our side of the kind of 6 procurers that what will be our next steps. I already said that there's kind of different levels of ambition within the city. You can notice that some public transport operators are, for example, a bit more waiting, like Nathalie said, that should we still wait for the technology? We can see that in the Helsinki side, they clearly say that yes, we want to still wait a bit till the technology is a bit further. But there are other public transport operators are saying that we're not going to wait around. We want to just hop on the train and try, even though we know it's not perfect yet. So I think there's really lots of opportunities here, and I'm grateful for Lieve for the explanations that you gave of the funds. I'm not sure if there are any questions from the audience. My colleague is manning the chat, but if there's nothing, any concrete popping up at my screen, then I maybe Lieve, I don't know if you are capable of saying, but what would be kind of a tip if we or someone's listening want to start a PPI? What do you recommend? What do we do, and how do we make a successful PPI, a public procurement of innovation?
Hi, yeah, that's a very interesting question. Well, the most important thing, if you want to do it in a group and not just on your own, but together with other procurers, is to find a group of really motivated people that really share the same goal. So, but that should be not so difficult for Fabulous, because you have already been working in a group of all motivated procurers, and you've had a even wider group of procurers, preferred partners following the initiative. That if I look at the PPIs that we've been supporting so far, when they had difficulties, it was often because the common goal was not clear enough in the beginning. So different cities are exploring today what to do next after Fabulous. Is it to jump immediately in deployment of things that are available now, or we want to wait a bit more until we have more mature things? So this is an important question for you to figure out before you can commit as a group. This is what we're going for. But once you have that, your common goal, your priorities defined, then it becomes more a mechanistic thing, like every procurement, writing down what you want, making sure it's aligned with what industry can deliver, and go for it and plan it, get the budgeting done, and deploy the things. The most important thing is in the beginning, the planning. And since it's going to be still an innovative solution, in not to over prescribe also what you want to buy, so that vendors that still have different innovative ideas regarding deployment still have the possibility to bring those in and surprise you. Even if you have seen already lots of R&D, they might still come with very innovative aspects regarding deployment. So also that don't over prescribe what to finally deploy is something important to keep in mind. And for the rest, I would say it's just motivation and hard work that you need.
Yes, that also it's quite similar to what we experienced in Fabulous, that the whole process of, so it's many similarities with the PCP process. To define the common goal, you need to spend a lot of time on that, and then hard work and persistence. So yeah, I understand what you're saying, but still, I think very useful tips and good to hear. Hey, we are at the end of our session, unfortunately, but I am going to have to thank you now very much, dear panel. I'm sure that this has inspired other cities and public transport operators and authorities to at least investigate and perhaps initiate or join a joint innovation procurement. So let's keep the lines short between us and also viewers who have an interest in this. So don't hesitate to be in touch also with Fabulous through the website, for example, to see how we can take next steps and come up with a group of interested procurers. So panel, thanks very much. I'll say goodbye to you, and then I still have few last words to say, because this was the end of the last session, and with that also the end of the entire Fabulous final conference. So really big thanks to you behind the screen for watching, and to also our wonderful panelists and speakers today. So yeah, a recording will be sent to everyone, as I mentioned in the beginning of the day, to everyone who has registered, and we'll also publish still several reports in March as a policy paper and exploitation strategy, etc. So keep an eye on fabulous.eu on the social media as well. And yeah, I think that's it for today. Thank you very much again. Let's continue to work together on an automated mobility future. Enjoy the rest of your day, and greetings from Helsinki.